hell did I just watch? What is that? What is this movie? I'm sorry to jump right into it real abrupt like that, but I've never felt so conflicted about a Godzilla movie before. I've never had this much and this strong of mixed feelings about a Godzilla movie before, at least not that I can think of. Like, thinking back on it, it's usually one of three things with me. I'll watch the movie and I'll immediately go, oh, I loved it. I loved it. Shin Godzilla, loved it. Godzilla 2014, I loved it. I'll watch it and I'll go, oh, that movie sucks. Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, that movie sucked. I do not want to watch that one again. Or I'll watch it and it'll be like, it is what it is, I guess. That's how I feel about like 84. I'm not huge on that movie. I'm like, it's all right. Got great parts, got some boring parts. It is what it is. And then I watch this movie, and I'm sitting there the first while of this movie, and we'll get into it a little bit more specific. I'm like, oh, this movie's awesome. And then it ends. After it ended, I was sitting there going like, what? I don't know. It's going to be impossible for me to do this spoiler-free review, which is what this is. This is a spoiler-free review for Godzilla, the Planet Eater. I'll be doing a spoiler review tomorrow. That's not the Godzilla-thon review. I don't usually do that either. I don't usually do a spoiler review and a Godzilla-thon review, but I'm going to do it here because there's too much to talk about, and I don't want to wait until I do the Godzilla-thon. But I'm going to save my spoiler thoughts until I can watch the movie a few more times. I've only seen it 1.5 times. I've seen it once in Japanese. The first time I watched it, I was watching it in Japanese. Then I'm halfway through it in English. What do I even say about this movie? The film, first of all, let's get this right out of the way. It only works if you're invested in it. Like, if you've already invested in this universe, if you care about the characters, specifically Haruo, you're good to go. This movie is made for you, and I loved it. I mean, initially, right? That'll be the thing that I put there. Initially, I loved it. Because if you're invested in it, this movie's got loads of great payoff. Like, loads of great payoff, great character stuff. It's awesome from a character perspective. And then you get to the last, I'd say, fourth of the movie, and you just sit there scratching your head going like, is that it? Is that really how it ends? Like, I don't want to be too hard on the ending here. Maybe there's some deeper meaning that I'm going to figure out upon another viewing of it. But upon first viewings, what was that supposed to be a happy ending? Was it seriously? It didn't feel like one, at least in my opinion. I didn't view it as a happy ending. Some people might go, oh no, it's a happy ending because blah blah blah, and maybe their justification will be really good. Maybe you can actually turn me around on the ending of this movie, because I really do want to like it. I never go into a Godzilla movie hoping to not like it. I really want to like this movie, so I'm looking for any excuse for you to convince me that it was great. But I watched the ending and like, what the hell was that? I don't know. I'm not big on that at all, obviously. And there's some things that happened before the ending that I've got some problems with, but we cannot talk about that until we get to the spoiler review. But all right, Human Story, okay? All right, and once again, spoiler-free thoughts. Human Story in this movie, like I said, it's awesome. There's just loads of great payoff, loads of great callbacks, lots of great returning characters that you wouldn't expect to see again. That was awesome. And there's a lot of really neat visuals, and I don't know, there's really great plot twists and reveals with the characters. Some of them we did predict in the ad campaign. I won't get into which ones we predicted, but there are some obvious twists, but then there are some not obvious twists. I think a good thing that happened with me with this movie is I got home and I was just ready to watch it. Got home from school and I was kind of tired and turned it on and I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to watch this movie. And for like the first time in a long time, I did not have the trailers in mind when I watched this movie. There would be shots that I'd see and I'd go, oh yeah, that was the trailer shot, where I used that as a thumbnail. But there was never like me sitting there going, all right, yep, and so this is the scene when Yuko is going to wake up from the nanometal because we predicted that in the trailer breakdown. I was never sitting there watching the movie, analyzing it in terms of like predicting what's going to happen, which is something that I did like even as far back as 2014 Godzilla, when I watched it and I went, all right, now piecing it together, I have heard all of Bryan Cranston's dialogue from the trailers. he dies here, and then he dies there. Here, though, it was a totally different story. I actually just watched it and just enjoyed it, and it was, it's pretty refreshing, I'll tell you what. There was, it worked. I think it did work. The internal struggle between Haruo and the monsters, I'll say the monsters because I don't want to get too spoiler heavy, is the best part of this film. Like, hands down, without a doubt. I really like Haruo. I know a lot of people don't. They say he's he's just a stereotypical anime protagonist. I think this movie and City on the Edge of Battle to some extent move him away from that stereotype. Of course, I'm not well versed in anime. I've seen Death Note. That's the only anime I've watched. I've seen some Attack on Titan, but I'm not an anime guy, obviously. I'm a Godzilla guy. So I can't say 100% that, yeah, they did move him away from the anime stereotype. But from where I'm sitting, it does look like they progressed him further than what he was in the start. And I do like that. The character development between the three films is really great. I can't wait to sit down and actually watch all three anime back to back to back. That'll be awesome. I'm really excited for that. But in terms of watching this as a standalone and just going off memory, I did actually watch the last 30 minutes of City on the Edge of Battle prior to turning this one on. Regardless, yes, the character development is great. Haruo is awesome, so I was big on that. Mephies, you guys know I really do like Mephies. He was underutilized in City on the Edge of Battle, which I had a problem with. They gave a lot of his, what could have been screen time, to Yuko, which is alright. They needed to develop her story. I don't get why they needed to do what they did with her in this movie, given what happens at the end of City on the Edge of Battle. I'll get into it in the spoiler video. Mephies is awesome. He gets loads of time to shine in this movie. He's awesome. I love Mephies. He's a character that I watched the first Godzilla Monster Planet and I was like, he's alright. And then I watched it again and again and I was like, he's kind of awesome. And that's how it was with his theme song too. I was like, his theme song is kind of annoying. And then I listened to it more and more, and now it's like one of my favorite songs to listen to when I'm writing, so I love it. And Mephies is a character who inspired me to create a similar but very different, similar to how he was presented in Monster Planet, very different from how he's presented in City and the Planet Eater, character in the book I'm writing, so that's fun. Mephies got lots of time to shine here. I loved it. Then we get to Miana and Mayana. Ooh, all right, they get lots of time to shine. I actually like them. I do. I think they're all right. I think Miana, she's the one who's Haruo's friend, right? I think so. Maybe it's Mayana. I might be getting them confused. They look identical, and I don't remember which one is which. My bad. Whichever one's Haruo's friend, she's all right. I liked her a lot in City on the Edge of Battle. They do something with her in this movie that I mean, I understand why they did it from a creative perspective, but from a perspective of a guy who's not 13 years old, I don't like it at all. And I have a major problem with something they do with her that they reveal about her. But again, I can't talk about that until we get into the spoiler video, which will be out tomorrow, so look forward to it. Like I said, I got lots of thoughts on this movie. But Miana and Mayana, they get some time to shine here. They're pretty cool. Good stuff, I guess. Martin also has quite a bit to do in this movie, which I like. If you guys remember my previous videos, I've been a Martin fan since Monster Planet, even before he had anything to do, so I'm glad that Martin got some time to shine. The stuff on the Arturum is actually the worst part of this movie. I think it said the name right. It's the spaceship in space. That's the worst part of this movie. That part of the story drags, and it really doesn't go anywhere, so we didn't really need it. I'm not a fan of it. Everything that happens on the spaceship, I could do without. Here's the thing that you guys are all wondering about, right? The Kaiju Story. This is specifically for the guys who didn't watch the movie yet. I'm gonna be honest, there's not a Kaiju Story. Like, there really isn't. This is a film about Haruo. So if you haven't been invested in the character from day one, or even just if you didn't get invested with the character in City on the Edge of Battle, which is really where I started to gravitate towards these characters, you're not going to have a good time with this movie. It's not a kaiju movie. These anime movies have never presented themselves that way, so I don't know why people are that upset about it. Sure, the trailers for this movie in particular really played up the Godzilla vs. Ghidorah aspect, but we've known for a while that this was going to be Haruo's story. Even the director came out and said, or one of the directors, I don't remember which one, said, we worked really hard on the Planet Eater, making sure that it was an internal struggle between Haruo and the monsters. That was the core aspect of this movie, and in a way, Haruo does more fighting against the monsters than the monsters do against each other in this movie, and it's a really creative way that they do it. I love that. I love it. A lot of people won't. I understand that right now. I already know that going in. I have not seen other people's opinions on this movie, but I know that will be the case. That's alright if you didn't love it. I did, and I'll talk about why in the spoiler video, but I think the way that the monster stuff is handled in this movie is pretty cool. Godzilla doesn't do much, but he is a badass whenever he's on screen. When he's doing things, he's cool, but he hardly does anything in this movie. He's taken out of the fight in a different way than he is in the previous movies in this film, and I'm sure loads of people are upset about that. I know they are. The fact that Godzilla and Ghidorah don't really fight in this movie is gonna kill people. I know it is. It's actually not gonna kill people, it's gonna kill the movie. The movie's reception will not be positive, I'd say, for probably 10 years. And then 10 years from now, I will not be the only one who liked this movie. Or at least liked the fact that they didn't go with an all-out kaiju brawl. That'll just happen. And I'm not saying like, I'm a revolutionist, I'm leading the pack. There's loads of other people currently that agree with me, that share my mindset. I see it all over Twitter and all over Instagram. I'm not trying to like take credit and be like, I am the sole person who likes the Godzilla anime. That's ridiculous. I'm just saying, 10 years from now, we're not going to be the minority, or at least we won't be such a small minority. Just give it time. People will come around to it. Biollante, everyone hated, and now it's the #1 movie in Japan, #1 Godzilla movie. So give it time, man. Ghidorah's pretty cool, though. I absolutely loved the interdimensional aspect they did with him. There's a lot of mystery regarding what's going on with Ghidorah when he first shows up, and I think it's awesome. I know a lot of people are going to be upset that it's the 3 spaghetti heads rather than your normal Ghidorah, but we still get the normal Ghidorah in a sense. And the 3 spaghetti monsters, they're pretty cool, I think. Lots of people won't like them, but I'm not lots of people, I guess, because I thought they were actually pretty cool. There's a lot of really neat religious allegory surrounding Ghidorah that I can't wait to dive into and dissect. But as it stands, I think as a kaiju, he's pretty interesting. Not necessarily Ghidorah, but he's a pretty interesting kaiju. It's a pretty interesting take on a kaiju. Soundtrack for this movie, it's alright. This is by far the weakest soundtrack that Takayuki Hattori has probably ever done for a Godzilla movie, but definitely for the anime films. I'm not a fan of the Space Godzilla soundtrack, I'll be honest. But I think this is definitely weaker than Godzilla 2000, Monster Planet, and City on the Edge of Battle, because each one of those movies, I don't think Takayuki Hattori ever has a really good soundtrack for Godzilla movies. I've never heard any of his other music, but for Godzilla movies, I don't think his soundtracks are ever all that good. But they always have at least like 4 really good songs on them. In Godzilla 2000, it's that main Godzilla Millennium theme along with the ending theme is really cool. There's some cool parts in the middle there too. In Godzilla Monster Planet, you have subspace navigation, Leland's special attack, speech. There's some other cool ones. Godzilla's theme in that movie is pretty cool. Metfi's song is awesome. The Exif theme in general is pretty cool. In City on the Edge of Battle, you have Haruo's Anguish, which also ties back to Haruo's memory in Monster Planet, but City on the Edge of Battle also has probably the last 5 songs on that soundtrack I think are killer. Pretty much Raid from Raid on in the soundtrack, and for those of you who own the soundtrack or are familiar with it, you'll know what I'm talking about. From Raid on, that soundtrack's awesome. In this one, it's mostly just a remake of Metfi's theme over and over and over and over again, which works in context of the movie, but I'll tell you what, it's not a fun one to drive to school while listening to. I drive to school while listening to Godzilla soundtracks, and this is by far one of the more boring ones that I've had to listen to when driving. I'm sure it might be good if I'm in the mood for, like, I really want to write my religious character in my book, but if I'm in the mood to, like, do anything else, this is definitely one of the weaker soundtracks. Alright, the ending of the movie, I'm not going to get in detail on it, but I'm just going to say I have really mixed feelings about the ending of this movie, and I definitely will get into it in the spoiler video that I do tomorrow. I really can't say much else, though. I feel like I did a pretty good job sharing my thoughts on the movie for those of you who haven't seen it, or for those of you who I guess, just like the spoiler-free videos. Would I recommend it? And I'm not going to rate it in this video because I don't have enough to go off of. I've only seen it 1.5 times. I want to see it a couple more before I give it a rating. Would I recommend it? Only if you liked the anime films that came before it. I wouldn't recommend this to anybody who was like holding out for it, going, maybe the last one will be awesome. Don't watch it, you're not gonna like it. You're just not. Or actually do watch it just once at least, but you're probably not gonna like it. And that might be a me thing. I know I've seen a lot of people online saying, no, this one was great, the other 2 were meh, but this one was awesome. Whereas I'm kind of the other way around. I'm like, I really like the other 2. This one's the one that I'm like, what was this? All right, well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for probably, you know what, that spoiler video, that spoiler review. Yay! D-Man, out.